Hello and welcome back to the Tucker and Crowley Report. Franklin Tucker, senior editor of the Belmontonian, is with me, and I'm Mike Crowley. First, I do want to remind our viewers that any opinions or comments expressed on this program are those of myself and Franklin Tucker and do not represent the views of the Belmont Media Center, the town of Belmont, or Verizon or Comcast. So keep that in mind. So, Franklin, first up, let's talk about dirt and money.
That's right. It's about west of Harrisfield. As the head of the rec commission said, it's hot. And when he said that, he meant that it is a topic of conversation throughout the town, especially among there's numerous groups. This week, there were 3 meetings in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all had to do with west of Harrisfield. And it was very interesting to find out a little, to have some clarity about what's going on there. First off, nothing's being done yet.
Okay,
no decisions have been made.
All right, so no decisions have been made.
A lot of people in town believe that, or were told that, these are going to be important meetings. Yeah, they are important meetings just to find what can go there, but who can plan these? Who's bringing forward all this information?
Well, so Franklin, tell me about who's doing the planning and how this process will play out in terms of decision making.
That's right. The thing everybody should know is that you can have plans for Harrisfield. There are a number of youth organizations who believe this would be a great place to put a turf field. There are people in town who would like to see a grass field, very more natural-like. But everybody should realize one thing. The owner, and that's basically the entity that controls that land, is the school committee. And this goes back to 1968 when this was more of a foresty area, I guess. I wasn't around in 68. And that was a decision that was approved by the Mass legislature. So it is a Mass general law that says the school committee can use that parcel west of Harrisfield for educational purposes. Now that means anything from putting fields, or let's say the school believes that the school committee believes, hey, we'd like to have a vocational education. We'd like to house it somewhere. Where can we put it? Well, you have this land. So it's up to the school committee what they want to do with it.
But right now, nobody's talking about erecting new buildings.
No, I think everybody is going, because that's going to cost money, and this is another.
But everything costs money,
right? Right now, but if it is a field, you can do a lot of options with it. If it's a field one day, it can be a building the next. So for the school committee, they liked it where it was. They liked the status quo, an open field. Let kids play on it, but it's still our property. Now, over the summer, people began hearing that this land that was being that's next to the new skating rink and rec center, they were going to do something with it. Now we have to even this just goes on and on and on. But this land was supposed to be part of the middle school project, but because of engineering, value engineering. It was basically the building committee for the high school said, we can't really spend that money on revamping the field. So we're going to, basically abandon it.
All right, but so let me ask you this. So discussions are underway about potential uses for the fields, and in the main, those discussions are focusing on playing fields.
That's right. It would be a turf playing field, which means it would be able to do it year round.
But Franklin, I do want to ask, what's the sense of where the money would come from to pay for the revamp of these playing fields?
And that's where the money issue comes in.
Okay.
The school committee does not have a plan of its own because, as it says, that's going to cost money, and we don't have it. We don't have any discretionary funding. If you want to build on it, maybe it can be a capital expense. Go to the capital committees, and they're already under a ton of what they believe is their their duty to fix so many things in town, such as the Chenery roof and things like that. So they really
so CPC is not a potential.
CPAC is potential,
Okay.
only as so far as to like grading the land, preparing it for a field. They can do that. The engineering, that's fine. What they can't do is place something on top of that dirt. So
Okay.
whether it's grass, which is much cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
or a turf field, which is expensive. You know, the turf field at Harris Field, which needs to be replaced soon, will cost you over $1 million. So a field such as west of Harris Field is even bigger. So that's going to be that would be a real big cost, and that's why the school committee basically says we don't have any plan of our own. Come, you know, if somebody wants to come to us and ask us, will we support this? We'll do it. Now, where this comes in, the whole plan starts.
Okay.
From the rink committee, the rink building committee. There's and they have, you know, costs that are still out there. One of the costs is removing a lot of dirt. You know, you got to dig a big hole to put a rink in there,
Mm-hmm.
and they have mounds of dirt. You can see it from Concord Avenue. Now, somebody said, look, you know, Skanska, who's the general contractor, they're using half of that west of Harris Field as a staging area, you know, where you put steel and trucks and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. They're saying, hey, you know, you have to return the land back to a proper use, to a proper condition, right?
Back to, at a minimum, the status quo ante.
That's right. Now, Skanska has always said that, you know, they're willing to, you know, make a better field. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
want to be a good citizen. The rink committee said, look, we don't want to pay for the dirt. Why don't we help each other out? Why don't we have a win-win? You use the dirt, you know, we don't have to pay for the dirt. It gets made into a field. We all win. And that was the proposal that was sent. That was ping pong between the two. And it turned out that we learned that Patrice Garvin, who is the town administrator, helped facilitate this. And she suggested, hey, why don't we put irrigation in there? So this field will last for a much longer time. It just won't be, you know, you'll have to, you know, you don't want to wait for one summer of drought and you lose the field. You know, it becomes a dirt field again. So we'll irrigate it. Now, if you put irrigation into that property west of Harris
That
Field,
raises the cost.
But what it really does is it prevents you from putting a turf field, a turf field, which is an artificial field.
Yeah.
And there are so many, and that property, the west of Harris Field, was seen for a long time as a gold mine for youth and high school activities. You know, every imaginable youth sports group, including the marching band, including you know, the high school, they want to see a turf field there because it would be just you know, you can then rest fields such as the regular grass fields, such as the one next to the middle school, you know, the baseball diamond and that field, and it will also help with a lot of town parks and parkland like PQ and Grove Street. You can rest those fields. They won't be continually being active.
Now, it's worth pointing out that there is some controversy attached to artificial turf fields.
Well, we'll get through. You know, that's a separate story.
No, but I just do want to mention that you know, some people in town obviously would have a problem with an artificial turf installation. And so the question I want to ask is how does the decision making on going forward, how does that pan out?
So that's where it gets interesting, because I think a lot of people in the youth sports, you know, and I forgot to even add one of the most important things that they would like to put there: tennis courts, which has a lot of backing in town. And, you know, it really comes down to where you're going to get the money. Who's going to have the money to do this? Right now, you know, the Skanska Rink Committee, Building Committee vision for the field, also the town's vision for the field,
Mm-hmm.
it can come up with the money,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And what the school committee likes about it is that it won't cost the school committee anything. You know, you'll have a beautiful new field, and you know, kids can still play on it. It's just going to be like any other field. It's gonna get used, and it's going to get used a lot. and it's going to be something that that will have to be decision will have to be made soon, and that's what's going to happen. Right now, we're at the very beginning of the CPC process. The school committee said yes, we'll back this proposal. It doesn't cost us anything, and but there's no real application out there. I mean, there's a there's a placeholder.
A placeholder that's been
with no
submitted in effect to the CPC committee.
That's right. The CPC committee basically said, does this would this qualify for CPC money? Does it enter one of the three buckets that it does for recreation? It's going forward from there. So it's still, we still don't know what's going to be going on in there. It will the youth activities, find a way to raise funds, $1 million for a turf field and associated funding. The thing about a turf field is that it's the maintenance is much easier than the maintenance of having a grass field. Grass fields need to be cut. They have to be watered. You have to be very careful on how you do fertilizing, and things like that. Once you do fertilizing, it could be a groundwater issue.
So there are a series of pros and cons associated with either approach. But I do want to go back once again, Franklin, to who will make the decision on this? Will we see community consultation, and what's the time frame?
That's the whole thing. It might be one of these issues that will it may take more than a year to figure out. Do you want to have a youth, or do you want to have these youth organizations that really would like to see this? The school, but it's really the school committee. They're the ones who own the property, right. And they're going to have to say yes. We'll approve. We will support it. They're not approving anything. They will support issue. So what I've heard so far is that the youth organizations they're coming up to speed on this, and they're going, it's something that let's all get together. Let's try to go through a compromise situation. Can they compromise? I think what they would like to see, and I've talked to a number of them. If the CPC can put can give us the building blocks, to make it, so we'll find a way to get the money for a turf field.
Okay.
And what they're saying is that they can't go through the CPC. CPC will not allow artificial turf. That's verboten, as they say in German. What they would like to see is maybe an earmark from the state, which could happen. We've seen the rink get state earmarks. So that's something that you could propose. That you could propose fundraising. There was $1 million that was raised for the rink.
All right.
Let's see if they can raise $1 million for a turf field.
All right. So there's a lot left to be decided.
We're at the very beginning of this process.
So we've already mentioned CPC, and so that's a nice segue to our next story, which is that the Community Preservation Committee has a process underway for Community Preservation Act funds. Franklin, what can you tell us?
We're at the very beginning of the process.
Okay.
So they're at the process where they're saying, can this qualify for CPC money? It's a very basic. Can this go into one of three basic buckets? Okay. One's recreation, one's housing, and one's like natural property or stuff like that. Now, it's very interesting. You see this, what we're seeing is a lot of applications between, I believe there's 14 that are going forward. And, I think the amount of money is a little bit more than the $6 million that's in the budget for the CPC in fiscal year 25.
And some number of applications are basically already turned down because they didn't fit within the. Yeah,
there were a few that were just, they said, look, you're going to have a lot more information. You're going to give us, you're going to have to say who owns the property, how is this so supportive? Those are the ones that have a lot of questions, and they can come back.
Okay.
But right now, there's I think 14 that have been moving forward. Some of them are the ones that you expect, like the engineering for phase 2 for the community path, which will go from Waverly to Belmont Center.
Do we know the price tag attached to that?
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
Okay. All right.
Another one is the actual construction over at the Chenery. You know, that will just revamp that big open space, and that's going to look really nice. Some are really unusual that we have an individual in town who is moving forward with 2 applications. One would would beautify and bring to its original beauty the original part of the cemetery at Belmont Cemetery off of Grove Street. You know, it was basically built on a hill.
All right.
You know, so he would do that. He also, and this is a really interesting one. You know, he found this one of 2 sections of a curved, what is it called? A curved bookshelf.
Yeah.
Big, solid. You know, this is like something from the 1850s or 1860s. It comes from the Belmont, the Bellmont mansion that was near Cushing Square.
So the mansion no longer exists.
Oh no, it was torn down. This is part of the things that were taken, you know.
Okay.
And you know, he found it in Connecticut somewhere, and somebody's willing to sell it for something like $50,000. But the issue there, is that it would be historic, so it qualifies for it. But you've got to find a place for it. You've got to find where does this go? You know.
So a historic bookshelf that has no
home.
Okay. Any
a homeless bookshelf.
Anything else notable among the applications?
No, like I said, most of them are pretty standard. They're coming back for second. So many are coming back for second fundings, like the Chenery. But it's a lot of money, and the reason for that is like we got $6 million this year for a number of reasons. It's much higher than it usually is.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, the next series of applications, there's only going to be $2 million, and that's going to be a real squeeze. So if you got an application,
okay.
it might get denied simply because of lack of money, and in the next application cycle, which begins in August of the next year.
Okay, so how does the process play out from this point forward?
A lot of work on the applicant's side. They have to show, they have to have a budget
Mm-hmm.
that's supportable. They have to have the approval by the landowner. If they are not the landowner, the town can put its own CPAC requests. It really comes down to whether there's a real need. Let's say that there's some work that needs to be done in the chimney for the Benton Library.
Okay.
Because it failed. This
Mm-hmm.
is like one of those things that it will support a historic site.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that you still have to do a lot of work
Mm-hmm.
and to get it approved. But these are some of the ones that are I wouldn't say they're all no-brainers, but some of them are no-brainers. That there's work that needs to be done. There's work that needs to be done for the school. For the school committee building and school department building on Pleasant Street. There's just things that that you'll still have to defend it.
Okay.
And that's the whole process. You're now defending your application, and that will go on
to the CPC and
to
then
CPC. Then they send it to town meeting, which has the final approval.
Okay. All right, that'll happen this spring.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So Franklin, briefly. Saturday, September 12th.
September?
I'm sorry, October 12th, and that's tomorrow. I think tomorrow is October 12th. Yes. So tell us what's happening in the Claflin Street parking lot.
Well, you'll hear it before you see it, and that's Touch a Truck. This is the second time we've had it. I think it was postponed last year because of rain. But it is a great event. Every big truck and equipment, construction equipment is placed in there. Police cars, police motorcycles, ambulances, fire trucks, and basically bring your child, get a photograph, put them in the driver's seat, and let them honk the horn. It's a lot of fun. It's a great event. It's done by Belmont Dare and youth community groups. It's a wonderful event. It's during noontime in the Claflin lot, and go see it. Bring earphones.
All right. And if you don't have a child it's okay.
Yes.
You can
Oh,
you can still go see the trucks.
That's right. You can sneak in there and just like touch a truck. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Franklin, let's talk about sports, and we have a lot of sports. Right?
Well, we'll get it really done. I'll just leave it for 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Belmont was just triumphant. All our teams won, from swimming to volleyball. A great volleyball game on Thursday. It was during the Dig Pink, which is a breast cancer awareness game.
Mm-hmm.
Belmont won in the last in the fifth set against a very good Reading team. And they won, with basically their last, push, and it was a great game. Let's go to the most exciting news of the week, and that is Belmont football, which is blown out of 4 of its 3 games. They were shut out. They only scored 1 touchdown in 4 games. They went to Lexington, a 500 Lexington team. And they came away with a victory, a 9-6 victory. We saw Casey Regan, Jr., take the second half opening kickoff and ran it all the way in. And then John Townsend, a great rugby player who is also the kicker for the football team, nailed a 25-yard field goal, and that was the winning points, and came away with a really nice 9-6 win. And as they were winning, the Aurora Borealis came up
so
in the background. It was really nice.
So no doubt, Lexington is blaming the Aurora Borealis, while Belmont,
all the electrons weren't in the right place.
Well, Belmont is glad for the gift.
Yeah, and very quickly, Owen Filler scored a goal with 12 seconds left in the game to beat Reading 2-1. That was on Wednesday night. The girls' soccer team is now 9-0-4. They're still undefeated, going into their last 2 weeks, which are going to be very tough. They're going to play some of the best teams in the league, and also the state. So let's hope they're still doing really well, undefeated. And my favorite team, and that is Belmont Field Hockey. Mackenzie Clark, our junior phenom, scored 2 goals, 2 backhanded goals. And Anna Hopkins, who leads the defense, an incredible defense for Belmont, saved a goal at the last, just before the half. And Zoe Bruce, our freshman goaltender, just was phenomenal. So they beat the number 8 team in the state, Reading, and who they were defeated by 2-1 in Reading. We reversed that score. We won 2-1, and it was it was amazing. There was no scoring in the last half, and especially in the last quarter. But the Belmont defense was just outstanding. Wouldn't even let Reading to get out. Reading, a really great Reading team, couldn't get out of their half. They were just pinned up and strangled by Belmont's defense. So the Belmont is now has a 9-game winning streak. They have 11 wins. It's a real good story for all Belmont sports this week.
All right. Well,
before the Jewish high holiday.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Franklin. As always, you can find more of Franklin's reporting at belmontonian.com. And be sure to tune in next time. We will see you then.